Good evening and welcome to Legal Tech Live, episode 88, 87, one of those. You'll find out on the replay. You'll find out on the replay. My guest tonight is Amanda Brown. She is a sharp young attorney who's doing some fantastic stuff in the access to justice space using technology to help consumers in the Lagniappe. Am I saying that Lagniappe? Or
Lagniappe.
Lagniappe.
Yeah.
She's with the Lagniappe Law Lab in Louisiana, doing some fantastic stuff to help consumers who are seeking justice. A little bit about her. She's got on her LinkedIn, young lawyer turned legal technologist. Exactly the type of people we have on this show. Things you love are efficiency, innovation, access to justice, human-centered lawyering, because people are number one. And you've got a variety of things that you've been doing. I had the opportunity to meet you briefly at a conference we were at earlier this year. I know you and Diego, our co-host tonight is Diego Alcala, who many know is a friend of the show. And Diego and you had done some work together on a couple of technology rent relief and some COVID kind of navigation, how to deal with COVID CARES Act. And you're just doing really innovative stuff out of the more of the nonprofit side of things. And I think that's great. So tell us a little bit about you, Amanda, and how you got started in what brought you through law school, what brought you into the access to justice field, and then how you started getting involved in the technology side of things.
Sure. So I did recently give this spiel on reimagining justice, so I'll try not to rehash a lot of things.
Then if you did that, just create an entire new story for us, if you would.
Okay,
Amanda.
let me think. I'm more of a processor, so I need a minute. No, okay. So I went to law school. I graduated in 2016. And while I was there, I was kind of thinking, like, I'm going to do property law. I was really interested in that, mostly from my experience in high school, where I was my grandfather is a farmer and someone had like destroyed part of his property. And I was like, this is egregious. Like, this is ridiculous. Somebody needs to hold these people accountable. And my grandfather, rest in peace, he was like, lawyers do that. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to be a lawyer. I went all through law school planning to do that kind of work, just transactional, regular lawyer stuff. And on my last semester, I joined this legal technology clinic at Loyola University, New Orleans, where I was going to law school. And I distinctly remember whenever it was time to like enroll in that course, like, do I really want to do this? Is it something that is useful? Like, we're kind of indoctrinated to think that, the doctrine of the law and research and everything, that's what the legal professional is all about, rather than like helping people. So I was like, you know what, it's really interesting. I love technology. I'm just going to go for it. It's a semester. What can it really do? And to be completely honest, that really changed my entire trajectory, obviously, considering where I'm at now. Had I not done that course, I would be nowhere close to this sector of the legal practice and access to justice. So I had done some clinic work where I was dealing with housing issues, and that exposed me to the access to justice side. If I was coming from the more transactional perspective of practicing law, that was something that I hadn't considered. So it was really interesting to me. Then, I graduated. I actually went on to be a legal services attorney as a disaster recovery fellow at Southeast Louisiana Legal Services. And I got the chance to work on a little app there called Floodproof with the ABA Center for Innovation and Stanford Legal Design Lab. From there, I did my fellowship with the ABA Center for Innovation at Microsoft, working on the LSC Microsoft Portal project. And then I did some freelance consulting before starting up Lagniappe Law Lab here in New Orleans. So I feel like I just change jobs every year, but this one's gonna stick, I promise.
I mean, that is a busy first few years practicing. Isn't that amazing though? I mean, Diego, I don't think it was an option for us, right? I don't think there was no legal technology coursework at all for me in law school. I don't know about for you, but
no, absolutely not. And just listening to that, how I think that a lot of us can relate going into law school with a particular plan, right? You already know what you're going to do. I just need the knowledge so I can get out of here and help out in the way that I think. And then you get stuck in one particular event, class, or professor or situation that just completely derails plans, right? And in your case, obviously, you went to this access to justice space. In my case, it was public defenders. So I did, my vision was to go to corporate law, transactional law. I don't come from a legal family. So I didn't know what even public defenders did when I went into college.
Yeah, it's fascinating how it has changed and how it changed your trajectory entirely, Amanda. And now, so I've watched some of what you've done from afar. Of course, we're in legal tech community is a small community of people. And so a lot of us know each other and have some ideas of what others are working on. But the one that kind of struck me was you and Diego had early on, again, we're just at the tail end of wave one of COVID and a lot of people are opening up, but you guys the two of you together had worked on this solution when people started getting laid off and we started going in shelter in place, and you really cranked it out very quickly, and that was your rent relief program. Tell us about that and tell us how you jumped on it so fast, developed it quickly, and launched it so fast.
Yes, so this was inspired by Twitter, none other than Twitter. There was a letter circulating around on Twitter from California. Maybe it was Access to Justice Commission, housing, something. I'm honestly not sure. That's like 2 years ago at this point. So I just saw it and like, you know what, if this is something that's obviously going to be needed, we can just automate it and make it super friendly and get it in the hands of people that need it now, very quickly using some of these no-code tools that are available. So I had actually just threw one together for Louisiana, not really thinking broader about the impact that it could have. If you just like, not to say, generalize it a little bit more, but that's kind of the point of scaling, is that you kind of open it up so that it makes a bigger impact for more people. And Diego, he just tweeted at me like, this is amazing. Let's think about how we can scale this. And we got on a Zoom call and we talked about it, and we designed the database in the background to pull in all of the particular clauses for all 50 states. We monitored all of the governor's stay-at-home orders and the rapid rate of, transmission of COVID. And I mean, we must have, what do you think, Diego? Maybe like 4 days or something?
Yeah, from the original.
Wait, I got to know whose dog, because
Not
I know
mine.
Not yours. Okay.
Because it's not enough to have 2 kids. We also need a dog, right?
Yep.
So
you got to entertain the kids with the dog.
Yes.
The animals are always welcome on LegalTechLIVE.
Yes. No, so basically it's just like Amanda said. She just tweeted out, listen, this is awesome. I'm doing this just to show people. And I actually volunteered to translate it into Spanish. So that way the UX was in Spanish. But when I noticed that she was using community lawyer, I'm like, no. This is a tool to scale. We can do this broadly. And again, it's just like Amanda said, on and off. I think it took us 4 days or less, because I remember, I think it was a Thursday when you tweeted that out. Friday, we talked. Saturday, again, working from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. because of all what's going on here. And then Amanda was able to track all of the stay-at-home orders. And then On my end, I'm lucky enough that my wife also works at a human housing clinic. So we try to make changes to the letter that would uh, allow people to use it in a way without being too compromising, or that it would um, get them in trouble later on. So hopefully it was enough of a content that would suffice the moment without exposing them to additional legal repercussions.
And they would go, they would visit the, let's see, it was, I have the website here. Well, they'd go to your website, correct, Amanda? amandalbrown.app/law. Is that the correct?
So yeah, I made a short code. That's the, I think it's
That's where the interview takes place.
right.
Yeah.
bit.ly/COVID rent relief. I'll have to
Yeah, it's bit.ly/COVID rent relief is the website. So they go there, they conduct an interview, and they go through the interview where they input their information, and a letter is sent to they give their landlord's information, and then a letter is sent out to their landlord asking them for any sort of this is what I'm going through, can we delay rent? Is that essentially what it is?
Right, exactly. It's like 3 minutes, put in your information, and you're off to the races. Get a copy to your email box as well. And, I think more than anything, it's just meant to be a conversation starter with your landlord. Obviously, they can say no. And we're not attorneys, so we're not bargaining for, specific rights for people through this. And you can't do that. But this is something that was easily scaled very fast, with readily available tools and a little bit of grit, and help thousands of people use the app and created letters with it. So
that's fantastic.
It's a big return on the investment.
Want to thank.
One of the things I wanted to also highlight was that the letter itself, I think, made others do their job in this same content. So that California letter, actually the backstory is a bunch of people got together, translated that letter, and then they did their own app, and then they modified the app. So at the end of the day, what Amanda started ended up becoming sort of a catalyst for others to actually do that type of work. And I think that's important to recognize, because I think between Amanda's letter, the California letter, and again, Do Not Pay also had a similar concept, all at the same time. I think if we aggregate that, I think that thousands of people actually were able to get assistance in multiple languages. And I don't want to diminish the accomplishment, because it is a big one. I know in Puerto Rico, I had a similar, the same letter that I worked with Amanda, with the Puerto Rico information, and in my bit.ly,
which is
that one. No one's going to use it in Puerto Rico now. But basically, the one I got 2,500, 25,000, 2,500. Always get confused. People use the letter itself.
Oh wow! So that was you were leading into my next question, which was you said thousands used it. Did you guys have any? Are people still using it, and are you still collecting data on who's using it?
From my perspective, no. I've actually taken it down, because I think there's a better solution that's been created, and that's totally fine. Like you said, it's kind of a catalyst for the people that are working in this. It's just a stopgap measure for people that have resources and time. So I totally encourage everyone to check out norent.org. That's by the folks at Movement Law Lab, and I think in partnership with Just Fix NYC. And they took the concept to like completely new heights, like tracking eviction moratoriums and giving people more content and I guess context around why you might need a letter like this, what it does for you, answering questions. So they totally took it to new heights. Now, I noticed in like a few states, it doesn't recommend that you send a letter based on you know, maybe your landlord, it might open you up to harassment. And I think that's a great, you know, option, but I also feel like those people, if they want to send a letter, they should be able to send a letter. So it's really a balance between like, I just found it interesting, and I'm not trying to open it up to like, you know, criticize anyone's work at all, because I want people to criticize mine, but I get like anxiety about those types of things because I think that's towing closer to the line of legal services. Like you're saying, you shouldn't do this. You can't do this because of X, Y, Z. So those are like, that's kind of the reason where I made the decision that this should just be for everyone. And if everybody makes a decision on their own that they need to send this type of letter to their landlord to preserve their rights or open that conversation up, then they should be able to do it.
And the nice thing about this is you get a professionally done letter, right? For those who are not trained to write a professional letter and cite and use certain clauses and things like that. This is a professionally done letter that looks like it comes from them. And that is a nice feature. We have friends joining us, and everybody is welcome to ask questions in the chat or in the Q&A. We've got Adam Kerpelman, Lori Shemka, and Natalie Knowlton. Thank you for joining. And over on Facebook, Aaron Levine and Alan Rodriguez. So thank you all for joining. Please ask some questions if you got them. So you did another COVID-related sort of option here, which was with the CARES Act. Tell us about this tool that you had created.
Yes. So I was seeing, like, as I was doom scrolling, I guess, around the time that the CARES Act was passed and everybody was hearing about this money that was coming to them, but it was just going to magically appear, apparently, because that's what we were told. There were so many questions around who qualified, where it was going to go, when it was going to come, how it was going to come. I saw that as a great opportunity to use some tools like this to just communicate the law to people, to help them understand and like relieve some of the anxiety of not knowing, because you get mixed messages or you get new messages all the time from the IRS or from the news sources, and nobody's quite sure what's actually going on. But it's all in the law, and that's very plain and clear. Of course, there's guidance by the IRS about specific things, but through the economic impact payment navigator, that was really what that was about. It was just about calming people's fears and anxiety about and understanding where their money was going to go and how they were going to get it and how much they were going to get. A lot of people weren't clear on that either. Mm-hmm. There were, of course, a lot of calculators that had popped up, but none of them were like really comprehensive about how much you're going to get, where you're going to get it, and when, kind of, and what you might need to do if you need to take any action. Because the media really played up like, again, this is magic. It's just going to show up in your inbox or wherever, which opened up a lot of room for scams. So I thought it was really important to just be super clear about, okay, yes, you may just get it in your direct deposit, and a lot of people did, but those marginalized people that, you know, they owe taxes, or they don't, or they've moved their direct deposit, or there's all kind of different things, immigrants, or a special population that had a really confusing, there was confusing standards about whether or not they would qualify for this. So it was just really about distilling that down in a way that somebody could come to it and be like, okay, I just need to answer questions about me and figure out what applies to me. Because if you went to the IRS website, it was like, if this, then this, if this, then this, which made it really easy for me. But a lot of people were just completely overwhelmed by the way that they're like presenting information. So
they had really a little bit of a logic tree on their own side. Is that what I'm hearing?
No logic tree.
No.
They just had a bunch of if statements.
Oh, that's all they, okay.
Yeah. And then, you know, there were some people needed to take action if they didn't file their taxes at all because they didn't make enough money. They needed to do specific things in order to get their money. And of course, that wasn't being portrayed or communicated as clearly as it could be in the media. So it was really just an effort to bring it all down and tailor the law to people and meet them really where they are, so they could just calm down a little bit and like reduce some of that anxiety that was floating around.
And how have you, and now you've done 2 of these, and one had it, you know, the initial one, the rent relief, had some really great, I mean, thousands of users is pretty impressive for something that was made in 4 days and then launched immediately during a very difficult time. How have you gotten the word out about these items when you've put one together? How have you helped spread the word?
Yeah, this is not my strong suit. I have relied on social media mostly for the rent relief tool, and that really worked. It was very shareable. It was very clear what it was. So even, you know, on Twitter, got lots of great traction, but even better on Facebook, where I was able to actually see like people were sharing it to groups and people were sharing it on their own timelines. And I could really see that it was getting a lot of traction there because people they just want a little bit of help. They don't need everyone to do everything for them. They just need a little bit of assistance. And again, I look at that as a way to like open up a conversation and quell some anxiety. But the economic payment or the economic impact payment navigator, I actually built it, and then I went to the ABA Center for Innovation. I was like, look, hey, I've done this already. I've worked with some ABA folks here that I know are in they're tax lawyers. So we know like it's good. It's based off of the law. It's based off of IRS guidance. Do you want to do something with this? Because obviously if we can amplify the message out through their networks, then that would, you know, increase traction there. Do we have any ABA people on here right now?
Let's see. I don't know if we do. I don't know if Lori, are you with the ABA? She may be. I don't think Alan or Aaron are with the ABA.
This is a lesson learned then.
Okay.
I'm just going to say it. That's not the best way to do something if you want it done quickly.
That's fair.
Yes. So I had this ready, you know, kind of at the fever pitch. Like the New York Times was writing about, you know, the economic impact payments. All the major news outlets were talking about it. And this is definitely something where it is topical, and when it's in the public conscience, that's when it needs to go. And by kind of subjecting it to a little bit of bureaucracy, it delayed delayed putting it out, which was a great lesson for me. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just think it's a factor to consider if you're doing something that's very topical, like you might just want to.
This is the classic news jacking item, right? Use the news, ride that wave to get it out there. And certainly the innovator's lesson or the dilemma is working with bureaucracies is not the way to get things done quickly.
Right. I was naive enough to think that because it was done, that it would maybe be a little
rubber stamp.
Yeah, and not even a rubber stamp, but just that we wouldn't be. I don't know. I'm gonna stop right now. No, I'm gonna stop right now.
No, I don't think it's a negative lesson, and I don't think anybody.
It's good.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in the ABA. Not that they're like a huge supporter of the show or anything like that, but I don't think any of them would even, say, well, this is. They know it's a bureaucracy,
right?
You know.
The facts are the facts.
Yeah.
And I understand because they're representing, you know, hundreds of thousands of people. And if they're going to put their name on something, it has to be vetted. Yeah. it's really just a lesson for myself, like, and for anyone. Sometimes, like the rent relief thing, you just gotta let it ride and see what happens. But ultimately, you know, I do think I heard from legal aid organizations across the country that they wanted to use this to help, you know, get pro bono volunteers to just field questions from people. Again, it's all about reducing people's anxieties about these things. They know it's coming in one form or another. They just want to know the specifics, and the law is there. So let's do something and help people figure it out.
Essentially, you're making the law accessible.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Interesting for access to justice. And Alan Rodriguez says, innovation is not going to originate there, talking about bureaucracies. It will come from entrepreneurs like you. Which I agree, Alan, that's accurate. So what, Amanda, do you have planned in the future? What crises are going to arise? First of all, tell me what crisis is coming next so that I can prepare for it.
Where's my crystal ball?
Yeah. And then tell us, do you have some more long-term kind of bigger projects that you're working on that you'd like to share about?
Yeah, sure. So to answer your first question, I'm just going to say, prepare for hurricanes, people. Get your plans ready. I don't know where you guys live, but if you live near the coast, seriously,
I'm good. I'm just in Puerto Rico, so
you're screwed.
I'm right in the middle of that alley.
Diego has never dealt with a hurricane at all. He doesn't.
No. We got hurricanes, earthquakes, civil unrest. We're missing actually a snowstorm. It could happen. So
then the world really would be ending.
Yeah.
Just keep an eye on us.
You guys will be the canary in the coal mine. So hurricane, that's
hurricanes. I just got to say it. It's hurricane season. It just started. Be prepared. Of course, floods, fires, earthquakes. I heard that Yellowstone was having some tremors, so let's watch that. I wouldn't be surprised at the rate that this year is going. But as far as like project work, I am just COVID related. I'm working with some legal service partners to help them just like automate some of the work that they're doing for eviction answers, because we know that is coming and we're really facing another crisis on, you know, really soon with that. I think our governor issued his executive order today, and I'm ashamed to say I did not read it yet to see if he extended the legal deadlines, which would push back eviction hearings. But I'm hoping so we can have a little bit more time to flesh that out. But otherwise, most of my work at Lagniappe was not predicated on crises or a pandemic. So there's other work going on in the background that we've also been working on. We're specifically implementing a civil legal aid triage here in Louisiana, doing a lot of work connecting with providers and making sure that we have good content and that we're getting people connected to the services that they need when they need them through technology. And part of that.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I heard deep breathing. So.
Oh, sorry.
I ramble a lot, so you could just stop me.
No.
But another big part of that, and I guess it's actually, we kind of went backwards. We started with the triage project, and then once I got in here, I realized how much work was actually needed to be done on like the planning side and just like organizing. So we applied for a Justice for All grant through the National Center for State Courts, and we're doing that now to like really understand and inventory our access to justice landscape here in Louisiana, build those connections so that we can put it into a technology tool. Because I don't know if you guys know, but technology doesn't solve everything. You need to do some planning. It's
especially without electricity or without water or trust us, we got this, dude. We got it. No, I wanted to jump back on I thought I saw one of the things that you did, and I think it was very timely, It's just a very small project. I don't want to undersell it, but if I recall correctly, you pushed out like a best practices if you were appearing on video conferencing for pro se defendants or plaintiffs or whomever, right? And I thought to myself, let me bookmark this. Obviously, I'm taking that idea too. I think it's interesting the way your approach to the current landscape is, and I wanted to congratulate you because 100,000 people will say, "Of course, you don't wear boxer shorts to court, right? You don't show up like the attorney that got reprimanded for wearing whatever." But no one does anything about it, right? No one actually takes the time. I want to say I do to my clients, but I'm not really sure if I actually talk to them about how to dress properly. And because we have no courts in Puerto Rico, we have an increased number of hearings going through video conferencing. So that particular bit of information that you tweeted out at one point, and I apologize, I don't recall when. It's been a very long day for me for the last 13 years. But what I'm saying is it's so timely, and I wanted to congratulate you and highlight that on you of that project, because it is a project. It isn't just something you just make up before you do pancakes or whatever, right? It's you actually thought about it. You came up with extremely well thought out recommendations, and it just shows how in tune you are with the entire human-centered approach to access to law. And just to give you an example, the Puerto Rico Supreme Court has tons of access, tons of information, tons of forms, but by the time you get in it, you're so overwhelmed. You go into this, oh my God, there's so much information, I need to process this. I'm an attorney, I go in there and I'm building my own tools so people can get temporary restraining orders using Community Lawyer, just like a tool that Amanda's very familiar with. And I'm getting overwhelmed. I'm like freaking out every time I see a form. I'm like, oh my God, why are they putting these forms with numbers as opposed to what the form is about? Why are they using these forms in that way? So I just wanted to congratulate you on that, because it's not that, it's something so apparent, and it's often overlooked how to approach the user, which is the reason why access to justice should be highlighted.
Yeah, that was oh, you can go ahead.
No, please do it.
The backstory to that one was even maybe more interesting than the output itself, which was I manage our public information site, Louisiana Law Help, where people are going to look for legal information. And every week I run like a trends analysis on what content people are looking for, and just to try to understand what the legal issues are that people are looking for, like at a point in time, so we can coordinate with our legal service providers. Honestly, it's not anything that they don't already know, but it's good, to have those statistics on the backside of things whenever you're asking for funding. If we know we're facing a crisis on XYZ, we have statistics or something to back that up. That's a lot more supportive. But this one was, I noticed people were looking at a lot of our materials on how to go to court, how to represent yourself in court. But the biggest issue is that the courts are closed. So knowing that we didn't have that type of content, that's where the idea for that came from, just to respond to what I know is on people's minds and what they're looking for. But yeah, the document itself, I think, was pretty well received. Like you said, I don't think a lot of people, it's kind of a hindsight, like, yeah, of course, this is just the way it is. But if you're very intimidated by a process and you're unfamiliar with the courts, period, and then you're trying to go to court online, how do I know that attending court online is just like attending this Facebook Live? The same rules kind of apply, but how do I know that? You just have to tell people. So
yeah, I think the best part about these, it may be very nerve-wracking for these self-represented litigants or anybody who's doing the Zoom conference for the first time with the court. And the only thing I wish I could say to them all is, don't worry, the judge and the lawyers are all just as nervous about video conferencing because they're so new to it. Sadly, it's been around for 25 years, but they're new to it. So they're just as nervous as the litigant is. I wish we could share that widely so they could just be at ease. What do you think is, what type of project would you like to work on if time were unlimited for you, Amanda?
And paid project is not actually
paid project. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't even know. I just truly don't have an answer because I don't know. I do have ADD and I kind of like the rapid response that we get out of disasters. I have been a disaster recovery attorney. I'm the vice director and have been a team member of the ABA Disaster Legal Services team for several years now. So disasters are definitely my niche, and disaster legal tech would be something that if a passion project that was paid, it would be in that realm. I have this weird book. Maybe you guys have a book too, where you just like write down ideas that you have, and then
I got kids.
You look back in it and you're like, that's laughable. I've got some really bad ideas in there, but I'm holding off for the one really good one. And I do kind of keep coming back to this disaster tech that it's less on the legal side, but I just really enjoy that,
Well, just on that note, just to give you a heads up, I started building a chatbot after we got hit by the earthquakes, in order for navigate someone to access the particular gamut of benefits out there. So I have the FEMA stuff, HUD stuff, and all that fun stuff. Unfortunately, COVID knocked that idea out. I got kids at home and homeschooling, and the courts are shut down, and I'm freaking out. So that's it. That's my 2 cents on that.
So it sounds like next disaster, the two of you will have something to work on again.
Something.
Yeah.
If we have electricity, I'm all in.
So here's a question about disaster tech or disaster legal tech. Do you find that it would be better for most of these tools do they need a mobile-friendly website, or should they be a standalone app for people to access? Because it seems to be that everybody has their phone during a disaster, but they may not be sitting at a computer. So how for people to use the tools that are created for disaster relief, do you think that needs to be a mobile-friendly website or just an app, or what do you think's best?
My blanket statement is that I thought we covered this already, that people don't like adding apps to their phone. So mobile responsive, mobile first design is certainly the way to go. But I would caveat it that it definitely depends on the utility of the app. If it's some and I'm really just going off the cuff here, but like some disaster preparation that's like a life box to all of your personal information, yeah, you're probably going to want to have that in an app form versus, some mobile design. I don't know. But if it's about looking at different benefits or things that are kind of transient in nature, let's put it online. Let's go mobile first. That's just easier for everybody.
I would add, when I was researching the ideas.
But I'm not interviewing you.
Oh, no, but just to complement this, I would add that platforms just like Facebook and WhatsApp and Slack are great alternate.
Maybe build an integration to those or something?
Yeah, so that's something that, because I saw that a lot of people, as Amanda said, that her rent relief was very popular in Facebook, right? It gained a lot of traction. So that's one. Facebook Messenger is also one of those. Yeah,
Messenger seems to be really effective at those types of for chatbot based things. Thank you, Alicia. Alicia Kinchlow's here. Lori Gonzalez is here. If you're joining us late, it is getting late, but our guest tonight is Amanda Brown from the Lagniappe Law Lab. That's a lot for me to say. I was so happy that the last name was Brown because I butcher last names just regularly on the show. And then it had to come, then I was trying to pronounce Lagniappe all day.
Look, I'm trying to culture you people.
You
all
are,
right?
you are. I know. I'm just uncultured swine over here. Amanda, what can people do if they're interested in the product, the tools, the products that you're offering through the Lagniappe Law Lab? How can they get in touch with you? If they want to be supportive, what do they do?
Well, I would say Twitter is probably your best bet. You could also find my website, which is not all that interesting. Twitter's much better. So that's at B dash, which is spelled out DASH, Ambrow. I need to change my handle. We'll talk about that later. But and then if you wanted to support, I wish I had a donate button, but I don't have that yet. So maybe just follow me on Twitter.
Follow you on Twitter and wait for you to
and wait for me to get a donate button.
And wait for you to get the donate button. So the Twitter account is BDASHAMBROW, B-Ambrow. That's the Twitter. Yeah, we got to change that.
Yeah, it made a lot of sense years ago, but now I'm like, But I don't know, like, will people just search my name? Do they search your Twitter handle? I don't know what actually happens. I don't want to,
You can
like,
open
lose
a
people.
second or third Twitter account.
Yeah,
I don't have time to manage that.
17 counts.
There are 3 accounts. One of them doesn't even belong to me. So thank you, Amanda, for that. And time to get that donate button on so people can be supportive. We have a comment here. Adam says, I have legit business connections. I only know by their Twitter handle.
Yeah,
and
like,
I've had
don't
that
email me.
I've had that same experience. I have had the same experience. Thank you so much, Amanda, for being here tonight. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. Diego, thanks for co-hosting. And do you want to give them, does the Lagniappe Law Lab have its own website, or is that just, there's a Twitter handle for that?
It's lagniappelawlab.org or, yeah, at Lagniappe Law Lab.
All right. Excellent. And Diego, how do people get in touch with you?
Diego Alcala, A-L-C-A-L-A, P-R. And I guess you guys will figure out what PR is.
I think we all know, don't we?
Yeah.
I think everybody knows.
I don't have my flag with me today.
You don't have the flag. And that, so isn't it interesting? The legal tech community continues on with the Twitter handles. It is, that's where a lot of it gets done. Amanda, thanks so much. Stay tuned. When we stop recording, I will give you a little heads up on any of the background. Thank you, everybody for watching. We'll be back. We'll be back next week with Nicole Clark for a follow-up interview on Trellis Law and their impressive growth in the last, it's probably been a year since we spoke with her. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you next week.